Good morning. This is the sermon for this Sunday, August 16th, 2020, from Holy Cross Lutheran Church. And Joseph wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. I remember going to the doctor for a well baby checkup about 8 weeks after having my first child, Christopher. Some of you have met Christopher. He's 6'5" and past 40 now. So this happened quite a while ago. But we weighed him and measured him and looked him over tip to toe. And then the doctor said to me, "Have you sat in the middle of the kitchen floor crying yet?" And of course I had. I was about to turn 21, and there was no family anywhere around us, and I was so sure I was doing everything wrong. I remember most clearly the thought that crossed my mind. What was God thinking, trusting someone like me with the life of a baby? It was terrifying. Lovely and wonderful, but terrifying. Have you wept, my friends? In these COVID days, have you wept for the loss of simple hugs to your neighbors or friends? Have you wept for the loss of the way things used to be? For singing the hymns in church? For not being able to share the peace by touching your neighbor? Have you wept for the loss of your dreams? The dream of vacationing or visiting family? Have you wept for hundreds of thousands of people dead in 2020? It seems to me we have entered the snotty phase of the pandemic. Maybe people are just on edge, but I have heard more snotty remarks in the last week or two than in the previous months. And I have snotty remarks ready to go on the tip of my tongue in response. And I am praying that they stay on my tongue and that I don't speak them. The isolation, the constant change, and the poor example people in the public eye are setting about their own words and actions have created a perfect storm. Have you sat in the middle of the kitchen floor and wept yet? We have jumped pretty far in the Joseph story since last week. He was stolen and sold last week by jealous brothers, and in the intervening 8 chapters has experienced highs and lows worthy of an epic novel. Imprisoned, enslaved, and then interpreting dreams for his contemporaries propels him to the seat of power during the worst famine imaginable. He controls the food in Egypt, so much so that the brothers, his brothers, come from Canaan to beg for food from wealthy Egypt. And Joseph tortures them. I got no other word for it. He uses them as pawns, even imprisoning Simeon until they bring back Benjamin, the youngest one. And when they return, planting an expensive cup in Benjamin's sack so they would be arrested as thieves. He is toying with them. His anger, his feelings of betrayal and loss come out in these mean and manipulative behaviors. And then Joseph wept. He weeps for himself, for his own loss and his own feelings of being wronged, of course. But I think he weeps for his own bad behaviors, his own bad choices. Joseph is a wreck. Even though in this speech in chapter 45, he says it was God who sent him to Egypt, not the rotten brothers who sold him. He's been through a lot of loss, of deprivation, and so he weeps. Then in verse 9, he begins to turn. He turns from awareness of his own pettiness and loss and moves into vision. Joseph can see that God's protection and care have been real during these very hard years, and he wants to extend that protection to serve his people and to help them find a vision. He tells them to move the whole extended family to Goshen, where he will care for them, feed them, and protect them. Most of all, he tells them to bring his father to him. And then he cries some more. And the brothers cry too. What can we learn today from the Bible as it reveals to us this great sadness, this unfair treatment, and unpleasant choices in the Joseph saga? What can we learn from this moment in time where God's world is in upheaval and disarray, and we find ourselves filled with emotions we cannot place and cannot categorize? I think we can weep, my friends, and find God's gift of strength and care in that weeping. We weep for all we have done and for what we have left undone. We weep for what we have witnessed and for what we hold at a distance. But I think we must weep, my friends, if we are to be able to pick up the responsibilities for what is next. The world needs us to be about service, about caring, helping the ill, the homeless, the young, and the old. And before we do that, I think we must weep for the losses in your life and in your world, and then resolve to do better. We can do that. The world needs us to do that. Amen.